My partner of 6 years ghosted me over their mental health struggles, leaving me feeling like an afterthought. Now I'm left wondering, am I not worth the trouble? I've tried calling, texting, and being supportive, but the silence is crushing. What's next? Hello, I apologize if this sounds disjointed, largely incomprehensible, or poorly formatted. I have never posted on Reddit before, but it has reached a point where I feel the need to express all of this somewhere anywhere that is not in my head. I also apologize in advance for the length of this post. It has been a series of individual incidents over the course of a few months. I, 23 non-binary, have been together with my partner A, 22 non-binary, for 6 years, approaching 7. We met through a mutual friend and initially bonded over our shared love for a specific podcast. We became very close and were friends for about half a year before finally confessing our feelings and deciding to start dating. Throughout our relationship, we have been long distance. They were 7 hours away by car during high school, approximately 3 hours apart during college, and now after graduation they have stayed in the state where they attended school while I moved back home, leaving us around 4 hours apart. Long distance has been challenging, but I think we have both adjusted, even though it can be incredibly painful at times. We do our best to see each other whenever possible, which was difficult in our younger days but has become slightly easier now that we both have cars. We also text continuously, have Discord call date nights, and share memes and TikToks that remind us of one another. While our communication has become somewhat less intense now that we are both working full-time, maintaining regular contact remains a significant part of our relationship. The main issue is that, as I mentioned in the title, A has been essentially ghosting me for weeks since November of last year. For a considerable amount of time, I was uncertain why they had been so distant, as they did not explain it to me. This has become a long and exhausting situation, so to be as transparent as possible, I will create a brief timeline of events. I apologize again if it becomes a little rambling. A few months ago, around Thanksgiving, I began responding less frequently. From November 26 to December 3, I texted them 6 times, with simple messages like good mornings, declarations of love, and inquiries about their availability to call, and only received a substantial response after the 6th message, despite them sending me a few Instagram posts in between. They apologized for their absence and explained that they were uncertain when they would be free to call due to scheduling commitments while they were out of town. I assured them that it was entirely fine. I recognized they were busy and we could call whenever their schedule allowed. A little over 2 weeks went by. I sent me a few more posts on Instagram and liked the ones I sent to them, but they did not respond to any text messages. Finally, on December 22, they replied, apologizing for their lack of communication and briefly explaining that they were dealing with significant mental health struggles and were sorry for causing me worry. I told them that I loved them and that I was available if they wanted to talk about anything, vent, cry, or whatever else they needed. I did not want to pressure them into sharing anything they did not want to, but wanted to understand what was happening so I could support them. I also asked if we could possibly have a call on Christmas Eve, which is our anniversary. I expressed that they would like to spend time with me but would have to see how things went because they were going to be with their roommates, whom I will call family, for the holidays, and were unsure of their plans. They apologized for not having many words to share and expressed their love for me. I replied that I was there if they wanted me. I stated that they did not know how to respond, emphasizing that it had nothing to do with their feelings for me. They expressed that they were struggling significantly, mentally and emotionally, but did not provide more detail. They appreciated my support and mentioned they would try to reach out again when they could, as they had a couple of days off coming up. December 24 is our anniversary. Technically, it is celebrated on the 24th and the 25th, as we confessed our feelings for each other around 1 a.m. on Christmas Eve day, so we switch which specific day we celebrate. That afternoon, I messaged her to see if they had any time to call so I could wish them a happy anniversary as close to in real life as possible. We had not planned anything for our anniversary, and I had not asked since I knew A was going through a lot, even if I was unaware of the specifics. I did not want to impose additional stress on them, but I genuinely wanted to hear their voice for a moment and convey my anniversary wishes. They replied that they would need to keep me updated, explaining that they had a migraine and that their roommate's family had yet to eat. They asked if we could call after dinner. I responded that it was all right and wished them a speedy recovery from their headache. About an hour later, they texted again, stating that they still had a migraine and felt largely nonverbal, so they did not believe calling would be feasible. They apologized and asked if I had any free time over the next few days. While I felt hurt, I responded that it was okay and we could call later. I should have expressed my feelings more openly, but I did not. At that time, I was attending a Christmas Eve party at my neighbor's house and ended up getting slightly tipsy, largely due to my sadness. Being tipsy and sad created a poor combination, and a couple of hours later, I messaged A again with the following exchange. Me, it really hurts my feelings that you did not respond to me for 3 weeks. I know things have been overwhelming and I am deeply sorry, but it still hurts. I was genuinely concerned about you. If things are happening, I would like to know about them even if I cannot help. I am your partner and I want to be there for you because I love you. I'm sorry. I wish I could be present for you like I want to be. I hope you have a good Christmas Eve. Please don't worry about it tonight. It is okay. I love you. Alright, I do not have the emotional energy to respond to this fully right now, but I will do what I can. First, I am sorry for hurting you and for causing you to worry. It was not my intention to stress you out. However, I did inform you up front that I had a lot going on, and while I did not answer texts, we communicated on Instagram and Snapchat in between times. Other conversations took place, and there was no reason to assume I was gone. It would be one thing if I had completely disappeared, but I did what I had the energy for, and you knew I had a lot going on. I admit it is confusing where this is coming from, especially since you initially said you wanted to discuss anniversary plans, so bringing this up now is very sudden. In any case, there is nothing substantive for me to discuss. I worked a lot, was out of town, and then worked more before dealing with mental health matters. It hasn't even been a week, but I am still recovering and I can barely manage to get out of bed, let alone have any serious conversations about all of this. I apologize again for hurting you. I just do not have the words to describe what I am going through, and there is no way to articulate more than I have. What I need is a therapist. I just regained my insurance, so I am actively addressing it. But nothing aside from that will help, and it is really difficult to reach out when I feel suffocated daily. I do not want to sound selfish, but I am not the only person who has gone quiet under pressure in this relationship. Even when I am worried, I try to approach you with kindness and understanding since long distance is inherently tougher, and it's more challenging to reach out to someone without physical proximity. I had said up front that the following weeks would be incredibly busy, and I have been doing what I can to stay in touch between commitments. Claiming that I did not respond at all genuinely hurts because I was doing everything I could manage. That is not all they said, but I do not feel comfortable sharing the remainder of the message, as they went into further detail about their mental health struggles, and I believe I am already infringing on their privacy. They are correct that we exchanged Instagram posts, and I messaged them on Snapchat to compliment a tattoo they got, to which they expressed gratitude. I had continually reassured them that I was not upset and that it was fine, but it was unfair of me to unload my feelings onto them without warning. In the past, I have also gone quiet while managing my own mental health issues. We both have. However, I have never completely stopped responding to them for almost a month. The reason this silence felt particularly hurtful and unusual was the duration. We had never gone so long without at least one genuine conversation. I was increasingly worried and hurt, and the circumstances played on my mind, leading to a tipsy and emotional outburst on my part. After A's response, I panicked and attempted to backtrack. I struggle significantly when I feel that I have upset someone or that someone is angry with me, and I ended up apologizing for saying anything and claiming that I should have remained silent, shutting down and telling them to forget it. A reply that they did not want to simply let it go, and that it was unfair to say I should not have shared my feelings. They apologized for causing me pain and emphasized that having a conversation was vital, not only about that issue but also about our relationship overall, as we are no longer in college and things have shifted. They asked me to share my thoughts on when and how to have that discussion. I responded with an apology for overwhelming them and for my poor communication, reiterating my love and sending them anniversary wishes. The following morning, I texted them again, sober this time, to apologize once more for my inadequate communication. I wished them a Merry Christmas and said not to worry about responding since I understood they were busy. A few days later, I reached out to schedule a time for us to talk. We agreed to aim for Wednesday of the following week, January 8th. I spent most of the time leading up to the call feeling physically sick with anxiety. When Wednesday arrived, I messaged them to let them know that I was home from work and asked if they still wanted to talk. They confirmed that they did but mentioned having additional mental health struggles earlier that week, feeling extremely drained. Rather than discussing our relationship, we logged onto Discord and watched lighthearted shows together, which was nice. They engaged with me during this time and seemed to enjoy it, even laughing a few times. I ended the call feeling better afterward. We shared a few meaningful conversations throughout January, but around the 16th, A's responses began to taper off again. On the 24th, they texted to apologize for not reaching out and expressed their love for me, stating that they would try to update me soon. I told them it was okay and that I was proud of them. 6 days later, on the 31st, they messaged a group Discord we share with two of our close friends, discussing in more detail what had been happening in their lives. I am not going to reiterate too many details here for privacy reasons, but essentially one of their roommates, not S, lived with two other people. S and D had become very frightening and violent, throwing things, destroying their living room and kitchen, yelling, and generally displaying horrific behavior. The situation escalated to the extent that A and S left their apartment for a while and stayed at an Airbnb. While I do not know every single detail, it was a truly awful situation, and I completely understand why they have been struggling so much. I reached out to tell them that if there was anything I could do to help, they and S were welcome to come stay with me if they wanted. I also asked if they could acknowledge my message to assure me that they were physically safe. They confirmed that they were. In the following 2 weeks, we had one brief conversation at the beginning of February. I tried not to overwhelm them with messages out of concern for adding stress to an already intensely difficult situation. When Valentine's Day arrived, I did not ask it to do anything for that reason, but I still wanted to do something special for them, so I prepared some lighthearted memes, drew a humorous Valentine's card, and sent a small gift through the mail. I attempted not to expect anything in return or even message me at all that day, but they did. They texted me that morning, wishing me a happy Valentine's Day, expressing their love, and asking if I would like to have a call after they got home from work. I told them I would love to talk and said I would be available at 7 p.m. as I had worked that afternoon. At that point, A and S were still at their apartment, and so was D. A indicated that they could not discuss the situation while D was still in the house but would be happy to hang out and watch silly shows together. I felt very excited and happy. Then a few hours later, they messaged me saying, "Okay, hello, I am so sorry. Is there any chance we could call another night? My friends invited me to go out." While I might not normally prioritize this, today is the deadline we initially gave D to leave, and it has made me anxious all day. I think getting out of the house will be good for me. I feel terrible canceling when I am the one who asked to call today. If you prefer that I stay in, I understand, but I figured I would at least ask. This hurt my feelings very deeply. While I wished to express how I felt, I refrained, as I genuinely wanted them to escape D and the distressing situation causing them anguish. I felt awful at the thought of saying, "No, actually, I'd like you to stay in and talk with me." So I replied that it was perfectly fine and that getting out of the house was an excellent idea, which was true even if it still stung, and I told them I loved them. We arranged to try calling another day. The following day, I messaged to ask when they might be free for our postponed Valentine's call. We decided on the 19th. On that day, we hopped on a call and hung out for about an hour before they had to leave to answer the door for a maintenance worker they were expecting. They stated they would return once the maintenance work was completed, but then D began to behave inappropriately again, being snappy over text and ranting outside their door. We opted to wait until D exited the house to attempt another call, but by the time he left, I was understandably very shaken and needed time to process their feelings and calm their anxiety. Later that night, we engaged in a lengthy conversation over text, during which they elaborated on their situation until they felt well enough to sleep. They assured me that they still wanted to discuss our relationship matters, but indicated that it was still too overwhelming at that moment. I expressed my understanding, affirmed my love, and conveyed my pride in them. I texted them twice over the following week, sending a few "I love yous" and "I hope you're having a good day" messages. On March 1, they replied, apologizing for disappearing. They said they felt exhausted but were managing and that they loved me. I responded, reiterating my love and stating that I was proud of them. Over the next month, I sent about a dozen messages and received no responses. They sent me a few things on Instagram but did not reply when I responded to the posts or engaged with their messages. Eventually, it reached a point where I relied on their sparse Instagram stories to confirm their safety. I know it sounds irrational, but due to past experiences with sudden loss, my anxiety always assumes the worst despite its illogical nature. The longer the silence continued, the more hurt, sad, and somewhat angry I felt, although my anger never stayed anger as it always devolved into more sadness. Eventually, I asked A if they wanted me to stop messaging them. If my messages were overwhelming or stressing them, I did not want to continue sending them. That night, they finally responded, apologizing for their lack of replies. They explained that they had been at work for almost 12 hours that day and that, generally, things had been chaotic. They admitted that they had not had the spoons to talk to anyone and had been spending most of their free time asleep. They acknowledged that this was not an excuse and that they needed to be more present and understood if I was upset, but they were unsure what else to say, and they had a double shift the next day necessitating rest. They promised they would try to respond to my other messages soon. I thanked them for replying, genuinely relieved that they did. I then sent them a lengthy message detailing how hurt I had been feeling about everything. I expressed that I felt awful for being hurt because I understood the enormity of what they were dealing with and prioritized their well-being above all else. I deeply empathized with the feeling of lacking the spoons to reach out to others. Yet I still felt hurt. That was 10 days ago and they have not responded. I do not know what to do at this point. I wish I could just eliminate the part of me that aches and continue to message them, sending things I think they would enjoy, wishing them good morning, and doing all that I have made such an effort to do in recent months without ever revealing how sad, hurt, and upset I have felt, how lonely I feel, as if I am nothing more than an afterthought in their life. But it truly hurts so much. I do not want to keep pretending that it does not. Since December, they have done many things, gotten a tattoo, adopted another kitten, and attended a concert. A selfish, unkind part of me keeps thinking they can do all of that but refuse to text me back. They cannot take a moment to send an I love you too and leave me in the void for days on end. A troubling, insecure part of me cannot help but wonder if I am simply not worth the effort. And that cruel part of me continues to say that, if I am their partner, if they love me, and if we have been together for 6 years, should I not be deemed worth that effort? I am not sure. It is painful. There have been so many challenges in my life, too, nothing on par with what A is facing, but still significant, and I have been striving so hard to prevent that from impacting how I treat them. I have been trying diligently to remain a good partner and to show them how much I love and cherish them, as they mean a great deal to me. We have known each other for over half a decade, supporting each other through countless hardships, and I want to keep trying to help them through this as well, but it hurts. I feel terribly lonely. I do not know if I can continue doing this when it causes me so much pain and I feel so isolated. I apologize again for the lengthy, rambling nature of this post. While I genuinely seek advice, part of me also needs to explain this whole situation to someone. I have not articulated it in this way to anyone in my life, at least not in such detail. My anxiety tells me that the two people I confided in are biased and do not know the entire story. If they did, they would likely agree with my internal insecurities, that I am indeed the problem and should simply keep quiet. This has been festering inside me for months, and I needed to confide in someone, even if that someone is a stranger on the internet. I understand if this has become too overwhelming to read in full. Honestly, simply putting it into words has provided me with some relief. In summary, due to mental health issues and numerous other distressing circumstances, my partner has been ghosting me, ignoring my messages for weeks on end and barely maintaining communication. I reached out to explain how hurt I feel, but I have not heard back. I am uncertain how to address it or what steps to take next. It hurts a lot. What can I do to engage in a meaningful conversation about this with them?